Hello, everybody. Eric Smith here, and this is it. This is the end of the secret history of the world. I am here today to talk about Nightworld by F. Paul Wilson, the final book in the secret history of the world. It says here that it's a Repairman Jack novel, and this copy is from Tor. But I think originally it was billed as an adversary cycle novel. This edition is, let's see, extensively revised since its initial publication in the early 90s. Jack's role has been expanded. He is now a major player. That's from the little author's introduction. So, right off the bat, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely fantastic. An amazing conclusion to an amazing long series of books. It's F. Paul Wilson's usual fantastic writing. Ties up pretty much everything. We've got characters again from Repairman Jack from the Adversary Cycle. And so I highly, highly recommend it. If you've never read any other F. Paul Wilson book, any other book that's part of the secret history of the world, I mean, you're going to miss out on a lot, but I think you could actually read this and just you're reading an apocalyptic adventure story, horror story. It might, because I think it might give you enough. You'd still have some questions, but I think it gives you enough that you can follow along and enjoy the goings on in the story. And with that being said, let's sort of dig in. It's not much to say. Talk about how it's going to all tie together since this is the end. So this is where things might get a little spoilery. Of course, this is year 0. This is it, the end of the world as we know it. So it takes place in May of year 0, according to this. Now, I didn't grab Signals, which was the penultimate book, and the one that I was using for the list in the back of the timeline and everything. And I didn't grab that. But looking at this list, it doesn't even include Signals. So this book came out before some of the books that are actually part of the timeline. So, before I get into this, I really, really want to find a first edition copy so I can read it and see what the changes were, what the big differences are. All right, but that being said, first of all, I don't know if this would be considered a spoiler. Is telling you what's not in the book a spoiler? I was surprised that, as far as I recall, none of the characters from the Ice trilogy are in this story. And they are part of the Secret History of the World timeline. And so I think the only real crossover is, well, the first one has a tiny bit of crossover with the Fifth Harmonic. And they do mention in the Ice trilogy, sometimes there's mention of things that are going on in other books that might be in the news, but it's the Void Protocol and The Last Christmas, the Repairman Jack book, The Last Christmas, that really cement them together because there's something. The big thing in the Void Protocol is also a big thing in Last Christmas. But none of the characters, as far as I can remember, I know the main characters are not in this, which I was kind of surprised about. I think for the most part, it's all just characters from Repairman Jack and the Adversary Cycle, with maybe some references to some of the other characters from some of the other books and stories. And there are books that I have not read. And there's some fan service here, where a little bit of spoilery here. Jack goes back to see some of the people that he helped in the earlier Repairman Jack books. if I could read titles from here, I'm pretty sure he goes back to the person from the second book, possibly the third. I know he goes back to the brothers who were mediums, and this absolutely goes back all the way to the first Repairman Jack book, um, because he's got to. There are necklaces. There's a pair of necklaces that are very important in the first Repairman Jack book, the Tomb, and they are very important in this book. But of course, it goes back to the Keep because Glaken and the adversary, the one, Ratsalom, are the main characters from The Keep, F. Paul Wilson's first novel. I believe, I'm like 99.9% sure. And then you've got, of course, characters from Reborn and characters from The Touch. And what am I forgetting in the adversary cycle? I feel like I'm forgetting something. The Keep, The Touch, Reborn. Oh, Reprisal. Yeah, but Reprisal goes back to Reborn. So yeah, it really, really brings all of that together, and all the recurring characters from the Repairman Jack books. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that ties into this, but it's a crazy, crazy story. It really is the end of the world as we know it. It really is a night world. It gets crazy. It's got crazy killer creature action, which of course one of the reasons I absolutely love it. And some wild stuff happens. Just trying to think if there's anything I really need to talk about as far as how everything ties together, without spoilers, of course. But yeah, it all fits. It's all in there. It's all nice and put together. Even though, again, things like ice or the fifth harmonic don't play a big part in this, but we do know they're tied into this world. So I think that's all I have to say as far as Nightworld goes by F. Paul Wilson. 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely fantastic book. Fantastic conclusion. Now, as far as this series of videos go, those of you who have watched these have heard me talk about the fact that I do have some other books that fit into the timeline. I didn't have them at the time that they fit into the timeline, if that makes sense. So eventually I will read those and I will add them to this video. And what I'm going to do, since these are numbered, Secret History of the World, Part 24, Part 25, etc., let's say that one of those books fits in between Part 4 and Part 5. I'll have it labeled Secret History of the World Part 4.5. Unfortunately, I wonder if I can manipulate the order that the videos actually are. I'm going to have to look into that. I think I've done it before. I'll have to figure that out again so that I can actually fit it to where it fits in the order of the videos if you were to play through them. I'd still make it Part 4.5. But so I just looking at my cart here, I can see Wardenclyffe, which I haven't read. Sibs is part of it. Black Wind. I just found out that Double Threat. I didn't know that Double Threat is advertised on Amazon as a standalone novel. But if you go to the official Repairman Jack website, it is part of the list. And it has a sequel that I don't have yet. And then there's all the short stories and stuff. So as I read those, I will add them to this video series. But I am in no hurry to read them. I have so much other stuff to read that it's just going to be whenever the whim takes me to pick one up and read it. So This is the semi-official end to this series, and I really, these last however many books, I was doing it every couple of books, except for during October. Made an exception, but it was like I got to read 2 books, read the next book in this series, read 2 books, read the next book in this series. That's not what's going to happen going forward. But a little teaser. I believe I will do another one of these series. Not 100% sure. About 80% sure. I believe I'm going to do this with, this could be dangerous, but with Stephen King's The Dark Tower series. I don't own any of the books at the moment. I saw a nice box set that I would like to get because they all go together, really nice. I've read the first book in that series and it didn't thrill me, but everybody I know says, yeah, you got to get past that first book and then it takes off. It gets really, really good. But I'm not like a Stephen King scholar. There's so much Stephen King I haven't read. I have this fear that I'm going to get my ass handed to me when I start talking about those books. But I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do next as far as this sort of video series. Can't say when that's going to happen, but that's something that you may look forward to. We'll see. So that's it. I don't think there's anything else I want to or need to say. F. Paul Wilson, Nightworld, the end of the secret history of the world. The end of the world as we know it. 5 out of 5 stars. There you go. Normally I wouldn't have a question. I don't have questions at the end of these videos, but I feel like maybe I'm gonna have 2 questions here. One, have you read this series? Have you read the books? Have you read just the Repairman Jacks or the Adversary Cycle? What's your history with the secret history of the world, and how do you feel about it? That's the first question. Second question, if I do this again, other than the Dark Tower series, is there something else, another series of books that you would like to see me tackle in this way? And of course, the best way is something that's already completed. Because like Brian Keene's The Labyrinth is supposed to be a 7-book series, his final magnum opus, but there's only 2 books out so far, so that's not going to work. You'd get one of these videos a year. But is there something else? Whether it's horror, I can tell you right now, chances are I'm not going to do anything that's fantasy. Most likely horror, possibly science fiction or crime or something like that. Or maybe, it could be a series like the splatter westerns. Something like that. Anyway, if you have any ideas, let me know. I'll listen to your ideas. Not saying I'm going to take your ideas, but I will at least listen. Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. I really didn't even talk about this is the worst time to say this, and this is the second time I've done this with an F. Paul Wilson. I really didn't talk about the plot. I don't know that I need to talk about the plot. Do I? Let me know. Do you need to know more about this book? We can talk about it in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. I lost my train of thought, so hopefully I'm not at the point where I'm repeating myself. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. See, I feel like I said that already. But then this is my 3rd video tonight. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am at EL Smith. That's all I have for you. It's been a long ride, but we made it to the end. So until next time, read more books.